What's up, everybody? 3 viewers already. Let's go, dude. The theme song is working, Pierre. It's working. It is the centennial episode, the 100th episode extravaganza. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I just lost my voice there for a second. Ooh, 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 ooh. Let's go, dude. 100 episodes of the Philly Blitz pod. Now, that doesn't mean that the Philly Blitz podcasts have only been around for 100 episodes, but this variation of the podcast, this timeline of the podcast, 100 episodes. I'm Parth. I'm here with Pierre and Quell. How you boys feeling? 100 episodes, man.
100 episodes, bro. 100 episodes. I still remember the first day, you two called me, and the first time we actually spoke and whatnot. And so, to see where we are now, it's amazing, man. It's amazing.
You're on mute, bro.
Damn it.
100th episode, and we still can't get this figured out.
And we can't be on time either. 8:30, we're like, oh yeah, 8:50 is fine. It's fine. We're on.
Wait till you guys.
We gotta be fashionably late.
It's okay. One day you guys will reach parenthood, you'll understand. But I was saying you got to say the stat, Parth. It wouldn't be the 100th episode if you didn't say the stat. We started the podcast with the stat, and you got to say the stat. Most podcasts die after.
Oh. What was it? Was it 2 episodes?
Yeah.
It was just something ridiculous. And
it was 2.
And friend of the pod, it was 2, right? Yeah. And friend of the pod, I think it was Mo who texted us. And he was like, send us this tweet. And it was just like, we were at 10 episodes or something like that. And this was back in P's and Q's. And it was just kind of a gratifying feeling of like, all right, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can take this further. And now sitting here 4 years later, different podcasts, same vibes, baby. Let's go. No, it's awesome, man. It speaks to the work that you both have put in, that and the time that we all put into this thing, and the support that we've had. We've talked about it. It's funny that the Philly Blitz has changed so much in the couple years that we've been here. There have been people who, it was funny. I saw a tweet today. I think I sent it to you guys. They were like, D was the most toxic user on Twitter when he was on here. Philly Blitz.
Shout out to D, man.
Remember, baby.
Not too much on my dog, man. Not too much on my dog.
I was saying the other day, I was like, you know what? I miss him, but I'm glad he's not on here when Texas is doing well. That I'm damn sure. I'm glad. All right, that much I know. He live in hell with Moro, huh?
Save that for yourself, especially because we were the ones who get the satisfying feeling of sending them home. And all I could think about watching that game was me and him were talking on Twitter or X, whatever you guys want to call it nowadays.
It was Twitter because it was back in the day. It was
you're right. Me and him were talking on Twitter, and we were having a conversation as to who should or could be on the cover of NCAA or CFB 26, and just who could be the next rising stars. And of course, him being a Texas guy, he's like, easily is going to be Arch Manning. It's probably the easiest decision. And me jokingly saying, well, I don't know. I'm just saying Julian could have a nice ring to it. Shout out to my guy Julian saying possible QB1 in Ohio State. And here we are, Julian saying national champion. He ain't playing the game or anything, but still national champion nonetheless. And a victory over that Texas team.
Trophies now. All right.
Oh, whatever. Oh, blah, blah, blah. That's what we handing out.
Kenny Pickett's a Super Bowl champion. Kenny Pickett is a Super Bowl champion.
You can't take that away from him.
Not take that away from him.
I'm not going to let you take
this
away.
You see the picture of his hands? You see the picture of his hands compared to Flacco's?
Oh, buddy. I'm not going to let you take this away from him.
What size was his ring?
Guys like Tracy McGrady play on teams.
Size 3?
Oh, their
do they make child-sized Super Bowl rings for his child-sized hands?
They will make one for him. It's gonna be Kenny size.
He's at the ring size. He's like, do you guys have any smaller sizes?
But just in general, man, this ride that we've gone on, it's been pretty fun. Hella fun. We've seen the highs of the highs. We've seen the lowest of the lows.
Seriously, the variance is nuts. It is nuts, dude. We have crashed out on the podcast for great reasons and for awful reasons. We've seen it all. I'm sorry, Quell. I mean, when you said that, I was just like, yeah, we've seen some horrible. We started P's and Q's during the last Carson season, bro.
And it was just, you just had to hang in there. And here we are, with, like you said, Parth, 4 years later, a team that's a Super Bowl champion 2 times here. It's hell, man. But then even when you look at the highs of that, you look back just 365 days ago, you guys sitting here like, we just might have to fire Nick Sirianni, man. We stink. I don't know if we can do
it. Hey man, that collapse. That collapse.
I've never seen anything like it, and I've never seen a rebound like that in my life. That was just, this last season was the most like insane thing to ever happen. It probably broke like every statistic measure that like any analytics that were watching it that were like, oh yeah, after this there has to be like some sort of like downswing. They come back and they just dominate everyone. Never seen something like that. Before we go forward, and we were talking about, you know, all the people who've come on the chat, I just want to give a shout out to Carlos here in the chat, frequent friend of the pod and frequent member on the pod early on, especially, who used to come on, give us his thoughts. So, you know, we appreciate you, Carlos. Appreciate you being along for the ride, man. And
another Jonathan Gannon hater.
Exactly. Oh yeah. If there's another Jonathan Gannon hater like me, man, it's Los, man. Let's go, bro. He holds it down.
One of my favorite bits that we have is whenever Jonathan Gannon's name is brought up, Parth immediately says, I hate him. I hate him so much.
And Los hates him that much too, bro. He'll be like tweeting and be like, yeah, he hates him too. Not yet. And
we're gonna touch on it. We're gonna touch on it before we get into the Eagles topics.
All right. Well, so then let's finish giving these shout outs. So big shout out there to Anthony DeBona as well, man. You hold it down on Twitter. You know, you want to know about jersey numbers? You want to know about just random stuff about the Eagles?
Anything,
your man.
any and everything.
And
who's getting camp tryouts?
Yeah, tryouts.
Fullback of the Philadelphia Eagles.
And he, I just gotta say, he's sorry. Just let me say one thing. He's a true friend, because anytime there's any Gator news, he sends it to me. He sends me Montreal sign. I got the message, and then I saw the tweet. I was like, "That's real. That's real." So
no, that's a real one right there. He's a great friend, excellent friend, man.
No, you guys were talking about Eagles news with DeBona, and like, you know how they release. Oh Lord, shout out my mom in the chat, man.
Let's go.
Oh yeah, we got mom in the chat. Let's go.
No, you know how the Eagles do the unscripted series or whatever, and you know some pages post a little clips from it. Every time I go to post a clip, I check the bonus page. He's already posted it.
Dude, man. We got notifications on.
I'm about to say we lose that competition every
time.
Every time. I sit there and I'm like, at least we're not posting the same exact ones that he posted.
Right. We got to find like the second clip in the video. It's a deeper cut that we can find now. No, seriously, dude. And if I see it on his Twitter, then I'm like, oh, let me go check on Twitter, and it'll be like, I'll post it 20 minutes ago. It's like, all right, bro. Thank you for beating us to it. But for real, no, you got a gift, is what you got. It's not issues, it's a gift.
It's the grind.
The grind, absolutely. Anyways, other shout outs, you know, gotta shout out JP. You know, once one day we'll get we'll get him lined up against me. We'll be able to run some O-line D-line drills. But no, JP is awesome with his katanas coming on, with his great analysis and his love of the Jaguars. I think there's some good energy in Jackson.
And Eagles.
Eagles, yeah, absolutely.
Go Birds, my God.
We did get to go Birds, so we did.
Or two.
But hopefully he has a good season this year. I think there's some good vibes down there. I like their GM. He's a goofy guy, but I like that. That speech he gave, that got me fired up about Travis. You like it?
Gladstone, he has some aura.
I ain't had no problem with it.
Honestly,
makes me sick listening to Parth talk about some goofy guy, but I can go along with it. I'm sitting here like, yeah, man, because my guy Nick Sirianni, he's just such a goofball, man.
Listen. With Nick, you know, I'm either all in or I'm all out. Okay, I'm all in. Okay, I'm all in. I'm a man of polars. Okay, I'm not a very balanced person when it comes to my emotions about sports. It's either I'm all in or I'm all out. And right now, Nick Sirianni needs 2 kidneys. He's got both of mine. Both.
Hey, key phrase, and right now.
Exactly. I was just
I don't know what to tell you.
It's so hilarious with Parth, bro.
You know what? Hey, you know what? We won a Super Bowl 3 years. For the next 3 years. You need my kidneys, Nick? You got them. All right. After that, if the waiting doesn't continue, we'll have a conversation. But until then, my kidneys are yours, brother.
You'll wake up on Tuesday morning and Parth will be sitting there like, because I think I just might want Nick fired. I just don't think he's the guy for the job.
I mean, I was gonna wake up on Tuesday with my kidneys out because Dom sent the van over and they've been dropping back.
You say enough words, it just might happen. You're gonna end up tied in the closet for the next 60 years until it happens.
What do we think about Dallas signing Pickens? I think he went from one place where he couldn't get the ball to another place where he won't be able to get the ball, except they'll be on primetime.
Yeah, 425 on Fox, baby. Dak for him to shine. Pickens gonna go from 0 targets to 12 targets in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Pickett's crashing out on a Dallas sideline, and then the cut to Jerry Jones in the press box will be cinema.
They might love each other. They might love each other.
He seems like the type of player Jerry would like.
That's what I'm about to say. I was going to think about it, but I was like, they might have enough crash out for each other, because Jerry is a crash out.
Off CD, put it on him.
Right. He'll be like, you know what, CD, you don't have the right attitude for AD. Put on 2 or whatever you wanted again. We're giving this fella Pickens. I like him. Anyways, we back to the shout outs. I want to make sure and if we miss anybody, I'm very sorry. We tried to go back into all the episodes, but got all mixed up with P's and Q's and everything. But we appreciate everybody. But I also wanted to give a shout out to Aaron Nagler, Blaine Grissack, Rio Robinson, and then Mark Schofield, the quarterback guru who's come on. Early supporter of Jalen Hurts, when we were trying to get people on board on the Jalen Hurts train, Mark was there showing that support. So
we always knew.
We did.
The
stock was in. We got in at the penny stock level. All right. Now it's Time Magazine level. All right. So we are not the same. And then last shout out, last but not least, Coach. We haven't seen him in so long, but Coach T, always a pleasure to come on and have him just say the opposite of everything we're saying and then call us stupid for saying different.
The best high school QB coach in all of the Delaware Valley.
In all of the world.
Absolutely, man. But all right, should we get to the announcement? What do we want to do?
Yeah, we can. So I'll just tee it off here. We got about 68 people in the chat, 13 minutes in. The price has gone up. The Philly Blitz, we have signed a distribution deal with 14th and Market Media Network based in Philadelphia. Shout out to the good folks at 14th and Market, JP, his wife, Leah, Cliff, all the guys over there. So what that means is essentially our podcasts and audio versions of all of our content and everything like that will still be in the same place. It'll still be on the Philly Blitz podcast channel, but YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, our video content will move to the 14th and Market Media Network YouTube channel. We're planning on still, releasing content on the channel, kind of that's independent from the pod, but video wise, this pod, we're moving to 14th and Market. So that's the big announcement. Like I said, the price has gone up. Like I tell you guys all the time, I'm, extremely grateful for all the work that y'all put in. Parth, I told you, from day one, I wanted you to, be the voice of this thing, and you've done a hell of a job with it. Q, the analysis you bring is, second to none. So, it's just another step, man. It's just another step for us.
Absolutely, man. Like you said, the price is going up, and the think 14th and Market is just going to offer some really good opportunities. Still going to be here. We'll be with the same type of schedule, getting the pods a little bit more on time is our goal. If we're becoming a little bit more professional, we're going to do our best. 14th and Market is not a real intersection.
It's where the block meets the boardroom.
Where the block meets the boardroom. But we'll tweet out the YouTube link and everything.
As a matter of fact, hold on, because we ain't got a soundboard, so I got to work. Hopefully, they supply us with one of these.
I wish I could whistle like that. That's one of the things.
Bro, I've never figured it out. I've tried to figure it out.
It doesn't make sense.
I just can't.
How do you do it? You're just like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, it's an exciting opportunity. We'll tweet out the link to the YouTube and everything. But like Pierre said, you can still find us here. But this is just gonna opportunities, like I said, and some of that could be some merch. So keep a lookout for that type of stuff, and let us know, man. If you had ideas of what you would like, to rep, the Eagles, the Philly Blitz, like shoot us a DM, man. None of us have you can't DM this person unless you got premium. So just shoot us a DM and let's talk and figure some stuff out. But always open ideas. But this is all because of you guys. You two, and then the people that we have working behind the scenes as well, and all the listeners, man. Still is just nuts to me that people take time out of their day to listen to us talk ball. It makes me feel very lucky and extremely fortunate to have all your support.
Even now, like seeing on Twitter people say, "Oh, I'm waiting for the Philly Blitz to drop," or
we send it to each other every time. We send it to each other every single time. It's in the group chat. It's like, oh,
yeah, okay. Like I'm waiting to hear what these guys got to say. Like, it's amazing, man. It's so cool to see. When I started this, in 2020 with COVID and everything, it initially started just as a blog, and then it's exploded into what we have here: 100 episodes, a distribution deal, everything like that, man. It's amazing, man. It's amazing.
I say it all the time, man. It cannot go unspoken. I go to mountaintops and scream it, but it all starts with you, big dog. I appreciate you, Pierre. We appreciate you, Pierre. Me and Parth talk often about that very first conversation that we had and just the chemistry that we were able to see that we had intact already. Just two guys wanting to talk ball, kind of like we're doing now. I say all the time during the opportunity when I have the chance to shoot my Boom or Bust episodes. And the goal is to sit here and to build a barbershop area kind of talk. We want not just each other to come in, but our guests, everyone to come in and feel comfortable. If you got hot takes, launch your hot takes. If you want to talk the real logistics of football, let's really talk some ball. It gives the area and the room for everything to have its own room to thrive. And like I said, man, it all starts with you, man. So we appreciate the platform and giving us the opportunity to succeed, brother.
All right. Let's talk ball.
Where do you want to start at? Well, it's actually something I realized I didn't put it in the agenda, but Jordan Davis, let's start there. Let's get the argument out the way. The Eagles picked up his 5th-year option.
No
argument. Do we have the numbers on it? Give me 1 second. Let me look this up.
I don't know, but I think at the end of the day, regardless of the numbers, I think it's the right idea. You have a player who, look, the amount of snaps he played is I still stand by it. I don't think it's what you want out of your first round pick, regardless of maybe he's stopping some of the run. Thanks, Carlos. Maybe he's stopping the run on early downs, but playing 30% of the snaps depending on the salary he commands, it's a tough swing, especially when you have Jalen Carter playing 98% of the snaps. The disparity is clear, but you're not asking them to do the same thing, and that's fair. But I think this year, when you have the D-line in flux, you want a guy who, you're still hoping he's flashed. So you're hoping that you can get some more out of him. And then worst case, you're getting a discounted year. It's probably cheaper than what he's going to get on the open market. And then you see what you have from there. They drafted some guys who could be coming in and, moving around on the D-line as well. So you never know. But I think for a 5th-year option, unless you really, really suck, I don't know why you wouldn't pick up a 5th-year option. I think that's just
it happens sometimes. Like the Ravens declined Tyler Linderbaum.
But they wanted to extend him, right?
Yeah, but it was one of them things where it didn't make sense to accept his 5th-year option because with the 5th-year option, it kind of accumulates to. It's kind of similar to the franchise tag.
It's like the average
deals stuff, at the top of the market. Some of you got to hit some thresholds for it to be like that, but still, for lack of a better term. But I mean, it was. Why have him be paid as the highest center in football for one season when you can just get him at a team-friendly market? So, I mean, it isn't always you better pick up that 5th-year option type of thing. But, I mean, when you look at it's also a position-by-position basis. Like when you see wide receivers or some of these positions that teams call, we had the positional value conversation all the time. Teams that serve a value, then if you see players like that not getting, like Jahan, if you see a player like that not getting his picked up, it's like, maybe this team really doesn't want this player. But just the Jordan Davis conversation in general is very interesting to me. You guys know I've argued this for years at this point. Kind of understand where I stand with the pick, where you kind of have to understand exactly what JD is being asked to do to understand if you like or dislike what he brings to the team, all that cool. It's something that should be acknowledged. At the same time as saying all that, I mean, I've been very fair about not just the assessment of the player, but what he brings to the team. I wrote a big article about the cohabitation matrix. We talk often about the cohabitation matrix. And I mean, I've said numerous times on podcasts, I think he's in line to get an extension strictly because Jalen Carter is going to be here. And he's part of the let's keep Jalen Carter in line plan, for lack of a better term. But even despite of the fact saying that, you would think a guy like Nakobe Dean is a part of that plan. And I mean, of course, injuries happen and all that stuff play a factor. But just you could see in the selection this year of Jahad Campbell, or even if you want to take it a step further, the team having a guy like Tyleek Williams in for top 30 visits, where it was clear they were showing interest in players that play Jordan Davis position, where just little moves like that, where you see, we value the cohabitation matrix. We want you guys to feel comfortable. We love having 100 Georgia players running around the place, despite Howie Roseman being a Gator. But even through all that, they've shown that, look, if we can get better value at the position or more talent, basically competition is key. And they're not afraid to bring in competition. So I don't think his spot is kind of locked in by any metric. But them picking up the 5th-year option is not surprising at all.
Yeah, I mean, I echo, both of you guys' sentiments. Me and you talk about it often, Quell, just in terms of, the value that Jordan Davis brings in terms of, it not necessarily showing up on in the stat sheet, but just in terms of like Vic Fangio's system, in terms of him being the zero tech and the space that he takes up, and leaving guys at the second level in like a Zach Bond or a Nakobe Dean, or even in this case this year upcoming Jahad Campbell, leaving them clean. And I just think, like you said, from the whole cohabitation matrix aspect of things, I think that's also a huge part in it. Like, chemistry is real, especially in football. Chemistry is it's a real thing. It matters. And, having guys, who, you trust out there, you can trust them to, be in the right spots, do the right thing on and off the field. I think that's huge. And I think, also just internally, I think they might be betting on Jordan too, giving him one last year to kind of take that leap in terms of pass rush production, because I don't think they would have picked up the option if, they just thought the guy couldn't improve or couldn't be better as a pass rusher.
That's about where I land on this and it's probably somewhere in between, where it's like, I think they're giving him the 5th-year option because it's like, hey, this guy still has tools. He's flashed, right? It's just, consistency that he doesn't have. Where I push back, and I think you guys are kind of agreeing here, so there's not as much pushback, is like, it's replaceable as well. There's guys who can do it, and we've seen that, right? If him playing 35 to 37% of the snaps throughout the season, shows that, hey, there are guys who can do it for, the other parts of the game.
Let me wait, not to cut you off. Let me ask you this though. Like, how far or the meta between, the lack of what he gives you in terms of a pass rush plan versus, the whole off the field in terms of the chemistry aspect?
That's what I was about to get to. That's what I was about to get to. And so I think, like Quell said, the cohabitation matrix, his article about that, like, it's extremely important to the Eagles. We've talked about it for a very long time. That being said, there's other dogs on the team, right? And so, Jordan and Jalen are tight, and there's no question about that. But you brought up chemistry, right? The first play that I thought of when I thought of chemistry was Nolan and Jalen, when he was like, when they switched. I forget what team it was against, but they switched, and Jalen ended up getting a sack or something like that, and it was just kind of an instinctual thing. And so
he switched with Jalen.
Was it Nolan got the sack? I couldn't remember which way it was, but regardless, like, it was an instinctual, just like, hey, I know this guy's going to do this. I know I'm going to do that. So that is real. But on the field, if you're playing 30% of the snaps, it's tough. Then and again, Nolan is a great locker room guy. Nakobe is a great locker room guy. Jihad is a great locker room guy. Like, Jalen has now been on the team for 3 years. 3 years? This will be his 3rd year. Yeah. So he's been on the team. He's built other relationships. At one point, Jalen is also going to have to be an adult, right? And I think that is what the team is hoping to build him into. And that's how it goes, right? You're a young man. You mature over time. And so I think there's a whole
guy who's matured over time.
Listen, you got to hope that he does, and you can't necessarily be like, hey, we're going to pay Jordan Davis whatever he wants because he can keep Jalen Carter in line. Because at one point, that's a waste of resources, and you need to find a way to have Jalen in line and be able to help your team in other ways. Now, if Jordan Davis is like, hey, I love the Eagles, I'm willing to take a pay cut, I don't see any reason why he's not here for a long time. But if Jordan Davis leaves and he's like, hey, I want top of the line money, which, for what he does, if there's a team that wants to pay him that, there's no reason he shouldn't go get that. Nobody should stop him from that. So I just think there's going to be a lot of conversations at the end of all of this. And you're right, Quell. You see Jalen crashing out on the sidelines, and you're like, hey, but but you also have Dom holding him back, right? And so there's other people, and Clint hurt, and there's other people in the locker room, right? So it takes a village. It's never just one person. But I also don't want to take away from what Jordan does. And listen, I've been critical of him, but I will admit, like, if you want a guy with upside, Jordan Davis is it. Like, he has the measurables, he has everything, he has produced at, like, the baseline level. We're just waiting for him to give us that extra oomph. Be like, oh yeah, this is our 1st round pick. Like, this is our guy, and for me, I'm not fully there yet, but this season will show, and there's room for him to get more snaps.
Yeah. And just to put a bow on it also, I don't think they would have picked up the option for another year of having this guy on the team in a prominent role if Vic Fangio didn't say, hey, I want this guy back.
Yeah, I think Vic Fangio gave the sign off on everything, and like the entire defense. I think all the picks, everything was like, oh yeah, this is a Vic Fangio special. We saw he was smiling after the Jihad pick. Like, that's the first time
bro spawned out of thin air when Jihad
we were like, I don't think he even smiled after the Super Bowl, and he was smiling after the pick. But
you say we picked a linebacker, eh?
He's like, oh, a versatile linebacker, you say? I wonder what I could do with that. But that being said, Vic Fangio is a coach in the NFL. He knows how the NFL goes, and like, it's just going to come down to allocation of resources, right? Like, what contracts are gonna be signed next year. And Quell, just about the 5th-year option, I actually just did some quick reading. I think the reason that they didn't want to do the 5th-year option with Linderbaum is because if you make a Pro Bowl, then they're eligible for base salary equal to the franchise tag for their position.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So if you haven't made the Pro Bowl, it's a whole different bracket. But once you make that Pro Bowl, that's a whole different equation. Then you definitely want to lock them up long run. So that makes sense. A little bit more clarity on that. So Pro Bowl, franchise tag, actual franchise tag price. And then below that, they have different brackets, I guess, based on, I don't know, the CBA. So who did the CBA for the NFL? Who do we get to blame like CJ McCollum?
I don't know.
I forgot his name. It's
I feel like it was a D lineman.
No, he's an O lineman. He played for the Browns. I'm not sure if he still plays there.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Is it Jalen Reeves-Maybin?
No,
that's not who I'm thinking of.
Leadership.
Unless he's the new one, but when the CBA got signed, it wasn't him.
I just googled this. Jalen Reeves-Maybin. He's the president. Oren Burks is the vice president. Oh,
interesting.
Calais Campbell is also another vice president.
Hey, Calais Campbell is who I was thinking of. I always see like Calais Campbell with like
JC Trader is who I was thinking of.
Okay. All right. So
yeah, he just got in. He was Jalen Reeves-Maybin. He was elected in March of 2024. This CBA Ben got agreed to.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on. Another contract. Kind of thing. Dallas Goedert, he's back. Very similar to gives me vibes to the Josh Sweat deal of last year, where it's like, hey, I'll take a pay cut and come back here, boost my value a little bit, and then we'll see what happens next year. So we'll talk about that, but I also want to pose a question. We're a little bit far out from the draft. Quell and I had the post draft boomer bust, but Pierre, we haven't gotten your thoughts on much. How do you guys feel about the Eagles not targeting a tight end at this point? They've always kind of
my feet up, man. You guys go take care of that one, man.
I think it was just a result of the way the board fell. Like, there was pre-draft interest from the Eagles in a guy like a Mason Taylor. Of course, we talked about it a lot in the lead up to the draft, the Harold Fannin Jr. connection and everything like that. But I just think the way the board fell, there wasn't a tight end that they looked at, in terms of being a guy who could kind of come in and not necessarily take the mantle from Dallas Goedert, but, be a starter level guy.
I don't mean to cut you off. I wouldn't necessarily say that I don't think the board failed that way, because it was interesting when you listen to how he talked during this post-draft presser. And he spoke, they asked him about it, actually. And he said there were a few times where basically tight end was close to the top of the board in terms of who are we picking. But then just when you understand the Eagles' ideology and all that, things of that nature.
No, that's also what I mean in terms of like their own draft board, like the way they had the players.
Yeah.
They didn't want to reach. They didn't want to go reach, and then they had, other players who they thought had more value. I agree, and I agree with the approach. This is something that Howie Roseman has said, and if anybody listens to other podcasts, they've definitely heard it. That Howie Roseman says that if you leave a draft feeling like you address all your needs, it's probably a bad draft, and you don't draft for needs. You draft the best player available.
And it's such a like, and I know we talk about this a lot, but it's such a refreshing thing to hear from Howie after all the years and all the draft misses where it seems like he's picking for need, versus now it's like we're just gonna take the best guy on the board.
Growth, baby. Growth. Let's go, Howie. Love your growth, man.
That's crazy.
No, Diddy. God damn, that was nuts. I might have to sign off, bro. Might have to sign off, man. It was nice knowing y'all. 100 episodes. It was real.
This was because my family guy said,
I'm closing the laptop.
I like that one.
That was insane. Yeah, that was nuts. Wonderful. It's been clipped. Yeah, that was. Hey, you know what?
I'm not gonna lie. That's gonna be used for meme for years to come. Every time the Eagles make a trade. Howie, I like how you're extended right there.
I like your growth, Howie. I like it. I don't know what to tell you, man. If Howie keeps drafting like this, use it ad nauseum. I don't care, man. I don't care, dude. Howie Roseman, you deserve it, man. So I don't know, man. I'm scrambled. I'm scattered. I'm rattled right now.
Well, just
it was nuts. All right, I'm done.
That guy.
But yeah, regardless, I feel like there's got to be some looking to draft a tight end next year. I feel like Dallas is gone. Unless he has another season.
They're not gonna pay. They're not gonna pay a 31-year-old tight end. Top of the market money, especially after this offseason.
That's what I was about to say. Thank God he took the play cut, dude. Some of these deals were nuts, dude. We couldn't give him Kittle money.
How much which tight end just got re-signed?
Kittle.
Yeah. What was his deal?
Outrageous money.
It was nuts.
Yeah. Isn't he he's like 32, right?
Yeah, not 4-year contract
but, I mean,
extension with 91.
I don't want to say it like that because, but when you kind of got to be realistic about your market if you Dallas Goedert, and that's not calling him a bad player or anything, but it's even beyond it's beyond that because George Kittle can't stay on the damn field, and they just paid him all that money.
Yeah,
it's first and foremost, it's May. All these teams have probably spent the allocated money. Like Dallas Goedert would be kind of what James Bradbury was to us. Oh, look what I found on the side of the road. Thanks. But I don't think anybody's investing top dollar into Dallas Goedert right now as we speak. And even outside of that.
And wait. So before you make your next point, to that point, I think that's why this was kind of the perfect situation for both sides, because if you look at, like you said, it's May where we are, right? Like, I don't think it's a stretch to say the Eagles aren't finding a better tight end, than Dallas Goedert right now. And, Dallas Goedert 9 times out of 10 wasn't finding, a better deal from a financial standpoint,
I think this is
or even on the field standpoint than, what the Eagles could give him. So,
but I guess this is the question I posed to you guys about the whole Dallas Goedert situation. And it kind of extends beyond this season where, I mean, you guys talked about a guy like Kittle being in the same age bracket as him, getting paid top dollar. The difference I'd like to think of the two situations is Kittle is a prevalent part of the San Francisco offensive brain trust.
Yeah.
And it kind of is a heavier emphasis on it now because they've traded Deebo Samuels. So, I mean, we know exactly what Kittle means to that offense. And I mean, this isn't saying that Dallas Goedert doesn't mean anything to the Eagles offense. We've seen exactly, I was just about to say, we've seen what the team looked like during the stretch of games where he didn't play, but we also seen what they look like during the playoffs. And we had the same exact conversation a few weeks back where it's kind of just repeating cycles at this point, but just hammering the point. You see when he's there, the luxury of them. And when we had this conversation, my entire point was, if you're the Eagles, is it worth, or would it really be worth getting rid of Dallas Goedert if you couldn't find something better, which is ultimately they didn't. If he makes your offense better, basically. Having Dallas Goedert clear, like I said, during the playoffs, you see the teams want to take away Saquon Barkley or AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Like, we have a really good tight end who we can run the offense through, and it showcased. But even despite saying that, he's not the heartbeat of this offense. He's probably not even the top 4 option in terms of what makes this offense go. Well, how do you take that?
You got AJ, Saquon, Smith. You put Smitty above DG?
Hell yeah. And it's crazy because Smitty isn't, I don't want to say he isn't as productive as DG, because clearly Smitty be having more snaps than what Goddard has. But at the same time, is that like the impact on the game? But I'd like to think that Devonta Smith and AJ Brown work well off each other. They complement each other very well to a point where it allows the Eagles to do a lot of things, and ultimately that opened things up for Dallas Goedert. I wouldn't say Dallas Goedert doesn't open things up for Devonta Smith. I mean, hell, again, he's a talented player, but I don't think Devonta Smith needs him to be successful.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think, and I think the other part of it is, Kittle's been injury prone as well, but there's a larger sample of work. He's been able to produce more often, and I think that kind of goes to the point where that Quell's making is he's just been a bigger part of their offense. And you come here, I would agree with Quell in that ranking. It's Saquon, AJ, Smitty. I think what Devontae Smith and AJ can do off of each other, it's your favorite word, Pierre, the multiplicity of it all. It's really true about what they can, about how they can play off of each other. It's, you get the Sonic and Knuckles in receiver form, essentially. But what do you want to say, Quell?
Kind of to put a bow on at least my end of it, to answer your question, Pierre, by players, just ranking the players on the team, Dallas Goedert is probably the best 4th option on the team. But it just, I contemplated on including the offensive line, but I kind of just left it to a skill position conversation. And even when you leave it to a skill position conversation by talent, Dallas Goedert is probably the fourth best player on the team. But this is all excluding Jalen Hurts, of course. But
that's what I'm about to say. If you're going to include the O-line, do you include Jalen in terms of his running ability?
It's a lot that goes. And again, all this stuff goes into the conversation. But even just outside of that, this stuff all ties together in its own right. Where if you ask me, I think it's an interesting conversation to be had whether Philadelphia, I don't want to say necessarily values the tight end position like we think that they do, especially coming off having Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. I mean, clearly they value. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry.
Gotta shout out my boy Brent.
But like clearly they value the tight end position. In the same breath of that, when you look at the current regime and how they choose to operate offensively, I truly in my heart believed if they could actually get complementary results from wide receiver 3, I don't want to say it will erase what Dallas Goedert brings to the offense, but it's easily replaceable.
But that's in terms, but that's in terms of the passing game. Like we haven't touched on at all what Dallas gives you from a blocking perspective.
But again, I think the same point stands though, where we've been able to see the running game still succeed with tight end by committee with Calcaterra and Stoll and everyone who's been there.
Shout out to Calcaterra in this conversation. The progression
Calcaterra has improved his blocking significantly, and Jalen trusts him. So
he didn't used to. He didn't used to.
He definitely did not. But yeah, I think it just kind of speaks to Quell's point where it's like Dallas is damn good, and he can. What I was looking up because I don't really know cars enough, but I was like, what. It's like when you got like what's the thing when it's like the one about like until a phantom pulls up or something, you know what I'm saying, like
Chrysler 300 look
like
a phantom.
Yeah. Basically it's like you can, but I don't even think that's a good comparison. I don't know. Basically what I'm saying is like you can be a fast car without Dallas Goedert, or you can be an even faster car with Dallas Goedert, but that fast car is still faster than most cars. You can probably, say, let me put money into the stereo instead of the speed or something like that. I don't know, but
I mean, when you have the level of talent that the Philadelphia
Eagles a luxury
on offense, yeah, it's a luxury at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we all landed about the same place on this. Unfortunately, no arguments, Pierre. I don't know what to tell you.
Also, wait, just another point. Them bringing back Dallas Goedert. This now means that the Eagles will return 10 of 11 offensive starters. Yeah. Big for continuity. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of the passing game, Dallas Goedert is going into a contract year, which he's never gone into before. So, here's hoping he's able to stay healthy, have himself a big year.
Pouring one out
some money.
My man, Makai back there.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
Damn, Makai. It could have been to run the train back. It's all good.
No, I really thought he was going to be the one who was back for sure. But
yeah, if you would have asked me at the beginning of this whole cycle, like he was the one basically begging, please.
He was like, dude, he was going on vacation with the players and everything. I'm like, oh,
there was the report. There was the report that he was going to give them a hometown discount too.
Yeah.
And then everything we know about Howie and the trenches and everything like that, you would have thought he would have been like one of the first guys they re-signed. But
okay, as we kind of shift gears a little, I guess we can use this opportunity to get a minuscule thoughts on the draft from you, Pierre. But I did mention this on the Boom and Bust episode recap, me and Parth talking. And I kind of love to get your thoughts on this, Pierre, because it was funny when Parth and I were discussing it. We were saying how you remember the conversation me and you had early in this offseason where do you think that they extend Zach Bond and what Zach Bond means to this defense? And my entire pushback, for lack of a better term, because I thought Zach Bond was probably priority number one to bring back. But in the same breath of that, my pushback, because me, wouldn't be 100th episode in devil's advocate.
To play devil's advocate.
Just we know Vic Fangio and the work he does with the linebacker position, and he's kind of a linebacker guru of sorts. And that was my whole pushback of you can get guys like Jalen Walker or in the instance of us, Shahad Campbell in round one, and kind of replicate what you got from Bond in the instance. And it was hilarious to me in Parth as we went through the conversation, like, well, not only did they bring back Bond, but they doubled down and brought in the linebacker. So just wanted to get your thoughts on how all this played out, man.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I wrote in the article I did on Jihad, after the first round. I think they view him, I really do think they view him as a Micah Parsons type of player in terms of a guy who can contribute, on the edge and, as a stand-up or stack linebacker, right? I think that's the biggest thing with the selection. I think it's the versatility. And then, in terms of the Zach Bond aspect of it, it brings me back to the Saints game last year when, how they used Zach Bond and, how they had him, as kind of, what is it called? What was it?
Andrew Van Ginkel role.
Yeah, the Van Ginkel role, the simulated pressure where, he'll walk down, he'll drop back, all the versatility and disguise that, Vic Fangio likes to do pre-snap. I think this is just another feather in that basket. And I think Jihad, I even think he has an even, higher ceiling in terms of, his ability as a player. But just on the draft in general, man, I think they knocked the draft out of the park, man. Like I just touched on with Campbell and, like y'all talked about on the pod and, like I've tweeted numerous times, my affinity for Andrew Makuba, or as he said, Drew Makuba out of safety out of Texas. Huge fan of that pick.
I don't know if I love that. A Drew?
Drew Makuba? I like it.
I'm not a big Drew
It flows
guy.
really well.
I know a Drew. I didn't like that Drew. So
it's
I'm not a big Drew guy. It's like, dude, your name is Andrew.
Or reading down, huh, Parth?
Hey man, I'm Drew, bro. Get out of here, bro.
I guess how I see it is, look, you gotta pick one. Like how Darius Slay said, I'm not Darius Slay, I'm just Slay. You either just gotta be Drew, like you can't be Drew Makuba. That's aura down. Sounds bush.
Y'all don't like Drew Makuba?
You gotta be Andrew Makuba. Andrew
Analytics isn't doing it for me, brother.
Yeah, Andrew Makuba sounds pretty cool. Drew Makuba
doesn't work. Drew,
you just gotta be Drew.
Yeah, but yeah, not doing it for me. Also,
Makuba in number 24 jersey though. Yeah, that's aura. That's aura.
Like but relax. All right, we'll see. You were like Sidney Brown just a month ago. Look at how the turntables, man. You just forgot about him, just like that. You threw him away. It's like that meme where he throws away Woody. I'm done with you now. That's what you
I don't want to play with you.
I don't want to play with you anymore. This is an old toy.
Hey man, I like Makuba more.
Wow, I'm telling Sidney, bro. If I see him, I'm telling him, dude. What Pierre said there, brought up a question to me. He said, "Feather in the basket." Would you wear a hat with a feather? Little eagle feather?
Hell yeah.
The little, what is it? The little fedora?
The fedora Johns?
Yeah.
Let's think about that. Feather cap, like just put the feather in the cap.
Yeah. But
just on at the end of every game, actually.
That's what I'm saying. Just put on the feathered cap. Oh, that's my victory cap.
I might order one of those. I might order one of those and make that a thing.
That's what I'm saying, bro. We might have to just every victory pod we're on with our feathered caps. Hello, this is my feathered cap.
Yeah, but just to wrap up my thoughts on the draft, even a selection, the selection of Ty Robinson, I think this is a guy who kind of offers,
gorilla.
Yeah.
Dude.
I think he offers day one pass rush ability. Like I think he can be effective from day one.
So let me ask you guys. This is something that came about Ty. Sorry, that's what I want to ask. 6-year college starter or 6-year college player, right? And doesn't really produce until the 6th year.
It's
concerning.
Interesting.
A little concerning, right? A grown man playing amongst boys. What's your guys' thoughts on that? I just wanted to know what you guys thought.
I wouldn't necessarily say concerning. I mean, it's eyebrow raising, so close enough to concerning. Yeah. Do you smell what the Rock is cooking? But I mean, even in the same breath for that, college football is strange, man. Sometimes it's like you gotta wait your turn, kind of.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And for Ty, I think him not just. I think the selection of Ty kind of goes into the player that he could be, not necessarily who he is today. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you could be concerned about the progression, ceiling, floor, all that type of stuff. But if you're asking, it kind of goes back to the whole Dallas Goedert conversation, where it's like Are you talking about him on just the average defensive lineman scale, or are you grading this on the Philadelphia Eagles scale?
Right.
Because if you're grading this on a Philadelphia Eagles scale, what he's good at is what they need. And it's at a position that they kind of specialize in, for lack of a better term. They've been known to rotate through this. So they'll get him paid. He'll make himself a lot of money playing in Philadelphia. I don't know if he'll ever become Milton Williams, because Milton Williams, I didn't even think Milton Williams would become this. He kind of burst onto the scene. I don't want to say burst onto the scene this year, because Milton's always been pretty good.
No, I think it's totally valid though, because he was good.
How he kind of tied everything together from a run and pass perspective
in his career over the last 3 years, and then this year he has like 8 sacks or something like that.
But it kind of goes into the whole traits conversation.
No, absolutely. And what I've heard a lot is that he's like a good, fill in for Milton. Not necessarily he's going to step in and do what Milton Williams was doing, last year, but he's a guy who could fill that type of role. Kind of goes to what you're saying.
It kind of like I mentioned to you, Parth, when we talked about this. My whole process, when I refer back to the selection of Ty Robinson, everybody continues to hark back to Milton Williams, and the Eagles need help at defensive tackle, and it's true.
Different types of players.
Not even just different types of players, but how they can kind of impact the game. And Parth also outlined when we talked about this that Milton also spent some time at defensive end, but I don't think he spent as much time as Ty has spent as defensive end. Like, Ty is basically as versatile as they come along the offensive line. He could play almost wherever you need him to play. And I think this selection, like I said before, kind of speaks more volume to the Brandon Graham role than it does to the Milton Williams role, where we need this versatility along the offensive line. You could play a little bit of everywhere. I mean, defensive line, excuse me. You could play a little bit of everywhere and get production out of you. So that's what I see from Ty.
Exciting
stuff.
But
just to wrap up here, I got a couple more thoughts. The selection of Smile Mondon Jr. I don't know if you guys know this, but he, in addition to Andrew Makuba, was one of my favorite guys in the draft process, just in terms of his athleticism, range as a linebacker, everything like that. And then also, he adds to the cohabitation matrix in terms of him being a Georgia guy. So, huge fan of that. The Mac McWilliams selection. I didn't know a lot about him, but just reading up.
I know you watched that game where he had Travis Hunter in hell.
Yeah.
I watched it.
But no, man,
I was UCF fan that night.
Yeah. Well, I think he's also another guy who, which I don't necessarily know if I'll say he'll contribute from day one, but I think if he has to touch the field, I think he can be a competent guy. He also offers some safety. What is happening? He also offers some safety versatility. Awesome. Yeah. Also, the 3 offensive linemen they took on day 3, Cam Williams, Miles Hinton, and Drew Kendall. I think those are 3, upside swings, I guess, if you want to call them that. Specifically Cameron Williams out of Texas. I know, I've seen people say that, if he would have went back to school and had a good year next year, he could have been a top 10, top 5 pick, right? So it's clear the dude has the traits. And, him having an opportunity to work with the best offensive line coach of all time in Jeff Stoutland, you can almost bet Stoutland's going to get it out of him.
It's interesting, though, that it seemed like the Eagles, from their internal messaging, and I'd be interested to hear what Quell has to say about this when he's back, but it seems like they were more excited about Miles Hinton.
Hinton, yeah.
I feel like I've heard a lot more about Hinton, and just in general on podcasts and stuff. I was excited.
I think the story with Cameron Williams, it's been potential, like what he could be, like not necessarily what it'll be, from day one. Versus Hinton, a guy who has starting experience.
Yeah,
and even a Drew Kendall. This is another guy who has starting experience, NFL, NFL bloodlines and everything like that. I also think sneakily Kendall could, challenge for that right guard spot. Honestly. He's a talented guy.
We talked about this.
He's so small, dog. You really
I think he's possible. The way the Eagles like to play guard with just size,
especially on this offensive line, like you said, just Parth with the size. I mean, Mekhi Becton. I mean, sucks that we had to lose him, but that was the whole big thing about the offensive line last year. Those was big,
Small
meaty
guys.
men.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Two no dids, one pod, baby. No, Pierre, we talked about this on Boomer Bust, so nice to know you didn't listen to the pod.
I did listen. I had to edit it.
I know, I was kidding. But yeah, I think the Eagles value a backup center, especially after what we saw this year, where you had two guys essentially having a backup in and then having to play out of position, whatever it might be. But
I mean, they even drafted Dylan McMahon last year, and they kind of lost him. So maybe this was
he got like in a perfect world. I think they were pissed. This was the equivalent of Christian Ellis. Yeah. Like they were pissed when the Rams stole Dylan McMahon.
Yeah,
because it's like, yo, we were molding this center, and I mean, we didn't think we needed to put him on an active roster. Mm-hmm. But I mean, as the
that's something to keep in mind when we do roster predictions. Is like the poaching that goes on the O line, because it's definitely very real.
But Q, talk to us about Miles Hinton. I don't know if that's what you're about to say. Probably.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard, but what I was saying is, seems like some of the messaging from the team and from podcasts that I've heard is like people are a lot more excited about Hinton than they were Williams. Like the video, I think it was the insider video. You see Stout fired up about Hinton. And now you don't really, and of course you don't see the whole picture and it's cut up and everything, but didn't see as much for Cameron Williams. Maybe they just didn't show it. So I don't want to be unfair, but just from what I've heard throughout the last couple of weeks is it seems like people are more excited about Hinton. But if Pierre and I were talking about it, I think we're both very excited about Cameron Williams. Can you just shed some light on why that might be the case?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Trying to pull my scout report up. There we go. So with Miles, I mean, when you talk about both Miles and Connor,
Cameron?
Cameron, I'm sorry. There's a conversation to be made that both of them are developmental tackles. Now, you guys know where I stand on Cam, where if he just went back to school.
Bro, we just said that when you cut out.
Like, just go back to school, brother. Everything was right there for you. And I understand when you get all the answers from the advisory committee, it makes me wonder what exactly he heard about.
Right. What were those conversations like, bro?
Right. But when you get to those conversations and things of that nature, it sometimes it makes it a hard pass. But I mean, of course, when you talk about Miles, first and foremost, son of Chris Hinton, former 7-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman of the Denver Broncos. So former first round pick in his own right. So like Howie Roseman outlined, the background, for lack of a better term, is there for you to be successful. Now, in terms of the player, talk about a powerful dude. We just sat here and talked about a second ago about what made this Eagles offensive line different last year was the level of how the stature they played themselves with. When you talk about a guy who's 6'6", 323, I mean, this is a big dude. And especially when you get the opportunity to look at him and how he explodes at the point of attack, him at the point of attack is a sight to see, for lack of a better term. When you look at this Michigan offensive line specifically this year, I mean, it wasn't necessarily the group that we grew to love over the last couple seasons or so that won the Joe Moore Award in back-to-back seasons. But if you needed to find a bright spot, it was Hinton sitting there. And my favorite part about him in the game and what he brings to the game is exactly how he moves. Despite him being a bigger guy, he moves very, very well for his size, man. I mean, getting the opportunity to see him as a puller in the run game. And when I had the opportunity to look at his film, it was actually very reminiscent. So it doesn't surprise me that he's ended up in Philadelphia, but it's very reminiscent. I don't know if you guys remember the conversation we had about NFL Live scene that they pulled up few weeks during into the playoffs where they was like, what makes this Philadelphia Eagles offensive line successful? They pull from everywhere: offensive tackle, offensive guard, center. Everybody pulls. And then you watch his film and you see him at the tackle position just getting pulled all across the screen. And it's like, okay, I can. So it's easy to see exactly what Stout has fallen in love
Did he play
with.
guard?
He can play guard for the most part. He was mostly a tackle.
Yeah,
but I mean,
because I mean, you're talking about the size, the ability to pull. I mean, that's part of what made
like a guard.
That's what made Makai, intriguing at guard. I don't know. It's interesting because I'm thinking about how big this offensive line has to be, right? If they want to keep like that height, just big meaty men combo that they had. What Green? What's his name again? The guy from Houston.
Kenyon Green.
Yeah. I keep wanting to call him Zion Green. I know it's on Zion. I mean, he's like a project as it is. He didn't really find success there. I feel like this guard spot could be open. I don't know. Do you think Stout has not been shy about?
I don't think that the guard spot has a leader in the camp by any. Well, yeah, it has a leader. It should be
Steen.
But I mean, we had the same conversation. We were literally saying the same exact thing 365 days ago, and here we are. So hopefully this year's the year.
I think Steen would have been the leader if he didn't get hurt. He got hurt in training camp last year. He missed practice.
I mean, never took it part back. Of me wants to agree with you, but
and they also kept switching in
before he got hurt. Exactly, like they were given Becton every opportunity in the world.
It was a little odd, right? Because we were like, oh, it's gonna be like Becton will be the next Lane Johnson replacement. Like he'll come in and slip in there, and then we have Steen slotted at the guard spot. But yeah, it's just
we just kept falling for the fact that Tyler Steen was typically the one up first, at least right before preseason started.
Is it necessarily just the depth chart, or is it what they think? And yeah, I think that's the point you're making, right, Quell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think like me and Parth talked about that. I don't know if you guys mentioned it while I was gone, but I've heard people say that they think Drew Hinton could compete at the guard spot. I don't think so. Yeah, Drew Hinton. I don't think so. He's pretty small, but I mean, and plus on top of what Parth said about just them wanting the comfortability at the center position, but that kind of goes to show you exactly what they feel about the position. I think that's the one spot on the offensive line where they say, look, may the best man win, and we don't really give a damn who it is. We just want our best 5 offensive linemen out there, and the rest of you guys, you'll get used in a way, shape, or form, whether it be as swing tackles or specific backups to these guys and things of that nature. But I don't think there's an answer at guard right now at all. So, I mean, it's an open door. Who knows? We could be talking about Trevor Keegan right now, a year from now.
Very true. Yeah, and that's going to be probably the most interesting spot to watch this training camp, right? That and D-line. I think it's going to be a trench summer, baby. No excitement for that. All right. Well,
no, Pierre already laid his flag. He said if it's not a sexy pick in the first round, I'm gonna be bad.
Get him out of here, bro.
I said, "Oh, buddy."
Now. Next year, if they go online, I'll understand it.
Whatever.
But this year, I want.
You hear him say this?
You'll say that next year. We'll get to the draft. He's like, "Yo, there's this running back prospect who I'm just like, yo, Saquon's gone in like a year, like, how
Jeremiah Love."
And then he'll tweet about it, engagement farm, get all the likes, and then it'll be like, oh wait, what?
We should have drafted your boy Pierre. Like the Eagles were never going to draft a running back.
I mean, I don't know. Last year they drafted 2 corners. This year they drafted a linebacker.
Stop it.
Next year,
get help.
You never know.
Stop it.
Third time's the charm. As in, we going back to what we believe in.
Right. Dude, I miss it. I want an O-line pick where I'm kind of pissed.
I'm not gonna hold you. I was so pissed that
I was a little salty. I'm not gonna. I was like, oh, John Campbell is cool. I was like, like Let me just get a big fat boy in here, dude.
I knew it. Shout out to Carlos in the chat. I knew it.
That makes sense, dude. Yeah. That makes sense. I don't know who the hell was given this information, man, because it's unfair, bro. Like, just give realistic information. Don't be.
But I truly believe that. And again, another conversation that we had, man. If you guys didn't listen to the draft episode, just go back and listen to it.
That was a good one.
But another conversation that you and I had, Parth, where it just feels like there were a lot of guys that probably got specific. Like there were a bunch of guys that I had graded fairly high. And I'm looking at how the draft plays out, and I'm like, this guy's still on the board. This guy's undrafted.
Didn't Xavier Watts went in the 3rd or 4th round?
I think it was 3rd. But just in general, where
4th? No, they didn't pick in the 3rd, right? Oh no, Xavier Watts. Sorry, Xavier Watts got taken in the 3rd at our 3rd round pick spot.
Yeah. Tennessee. Yeah.
Falcons.
Oh.
Well, yeah.
Another bird. Same difference.
Hate it here. Anyway, just. In general, a lot of guys who probably heard that they were rated in a specific area. And that's the word. I said this repeatedly as we talked about the draft play during the process before it played out. But there were so many guys that I had slated in specific areas. And then I started going through practices of trying to do mock drafts. And I'm like, if this doesn't happen like this, buddy, you might end up falling all the way down here. So it's kind of like a trickle-down effect. And it starts with the Shedeur Sanders conversation. We could laugh and joke or argue and scream about what the hell we think happened or why it happened. But it was kind of obvious after Pittsburgh didn't pick him, you were in for a fall. And then once Cleveland and Pittsburgh skipped you again in the 2nd round, like they said on the ESPN broadcast, why the hell would they pick you in round 3? What reason would they have picked you in round 3? So it's kind of a trickle down effect.
It's weird, man.
All of them.
Yeah, it was a weird draft. And yeah, especially at quarterback, it's always weird because we've seen it in the past where it's like once you're drafting the backup, then it's like, oh, like, you don't want the attention and everything. Did my boy Tebow like that? They didn't want the news stories around Timmy. All right, they didn't want the attention.
They didn't know a winner when they seen one part.
Thank you, Quell. You know what? I'm happy for Ohio State this year, man. I'm happy for Ohio State. All right, there we go. This is healing. 100th pod.
You want to talk about aura? Tim Tebow. That's a quarterback. Aura.
Dude, I'm a Hindu kid, and I had John 3:15 written on my face, dog. I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm wearing that shit.
Hey, you know what that just reminded me of? You ever seen a picture with the little white kid with the braid?
It was like the same thing, bro. He was
changing a culture.
He was the GOAT to me, bro. I was like, Tim Tebow, like, let me just be like you, please. Like, I will do anything to be like you, please. My God, Tim.
The kid was out there following that Christian man.
I really was, bro. I really was. And the thing is he was like hardcore missionary Christian. Like, he would go to India and convert little kids. And I'm sitting here like, Tim, you got me, dude. Tim. You got me.
Convert me, Tim.
Anything for Timmy, man. Timmy's never buying a drink in Gainesville, even though he doesn't drink. Never buying one.
Peak.
I'll buy your Coke for you, Tim.
Tim Tebow is peak why Quell loves scouting. Players like him, no, hell with players like him. Tim Tebow. I would sit here and my family would tell you, man, I'll talk to you about you. I asked people during the whole process on Boom or Bust. One of the questions I had was, what lessons did you learn, or what are one of the biggest lessons you learned through the process? Was an example, and how do you apply it? And I mean, I always refer back to the whole Justin Jefferson thing for me. Probably because I'm an Eagles fan and I'm scorned. Well, not anymore, but I was scorned. But I mean, that
2 years was tough.
Just how we kept talking about some damn slot receiver. Man, watch the film and see how that translates.
That frustrated me so much, man.
I bought into it, bro.
If you watch the dude,
kept buying into it. Yeah, I kept being like, oh, Rager's kind of fast. Tyreek Hill was fast. I got Tyreek Hill brained, so I got to wear that.
Even outside of the whole Justin Jefferson thing, if you really truly want to get to know and understand Quell and why I am as a scout, it truly all starts with Timothy Tebow. My family would tell you, like, I was sitting here We use the term in draft country, pound tables. I was flipping tables, pounding walls, and screaming at the top of my lungs. Why the hell y'all like Cam Newton, but don't like Tim Tebow? Buddy, was I wrong? Talk about an idiot. But this is part of the process, man. This is why you learn.
So it's what happens, man. Listen, if Peyton wasn't going to the Broncos, Timmy would have figured it out. But that's neither here nor there.
All right, wait, one more. Biggest,
yeah,
just
saw that question.
Biggest draft bust
from this year's draft.
I refuse to answer this question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bad on players.
Yeah, I feel bad doing that.
You guys can answer. I just don't talk bad on players.
But I don't want to see. The thing is like let a player do something I don't like, and then I'll pray on your downfall. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like as of now, they're all just like blank faces out there. They haven't done anything to slight me personally. Ask me again in about 6 months, and I'll give you plenty of people who's going to be the first bust. Yeah. Shout out. Hey, also, yeah, shout out to my fiance Krino as well, and Quell's wife Shavin. You guys letting us.
Can Mike Green be a draft bust though? He was picked in the 2nd round.
Yes.
Yeah, you can definitely be. Yeah, okay, yeah, Mike Green. Yeah, even my brother commented. My brother never comments, and he was in there to say, oh yeah, you can. You know what? Yeah. All right. Well, and dusty number, by the way. What's he in, like 34 or something?
I'm just saying, out of all the nasty men in this class, and that's the one y'all choose to hate on.
What do you mean? Who else is it? I mean, Isaiah Bond? I don't know. Who else is a nasty man?
Maxwell Harrison?
Oh, yeah.
Which one was he?
There were a lot.
There were too many nasty men, man.
There were a handful.
I don't know.
Keep your hands to yourself.
All the sexual assault guys, brand on your downfall, because it's nasty work, man. Just don't be a dick. Not that hard, Anyways, but like I was saying, shout out.
Don't be a dick. Not that hard. It's a crazy thing.
God damn it, dude. What am I supposed to do, man? What am I doing here? I gotta sign off, man. This is getting to be too much, dude. But no, I wanted to thank our spouses for letting us do all this. I know you guys sacrificed to allow us to do that, so we appreciate that. And before we sign off, I also wanted to well, he's yawning now.
Wait, give me 1 second. Let me change the view. This is live podcasting.
Ladies and gentlemen,
behind the scenes, baby. Should I just add them all and then click the thing?
The type of stuff that we should have figured out before.
All right,
we really should. Well,
we got everyone on here. I wanted to give a shout out to my boys Tyler and Bran. Last couple of months they kind of came on board and they've been helping us. I'm sure you guys have all seen Twitter, social media has been way more active with reels and posts and everything. And just want to give a shout out to these guys and my little brother as well. But these guys have done a ton. But
man, when is Nimai there?
Nimai! Yeah, maybe he'll come. Hey, he's
here, man.
He should hear it. He should hear it.
He in the comments.
Yeah, get over here anyway. But just wanted to give a shout out to these guys, man, because they're behind the scenes. They're not on camera, but the work they do is huge for the Philly Blitz, and very thankful. Known them since high school, so unfortunate on that front, but they're good at what they do. So appreciate you guys, man.
Producer Brand and producer T. Yeah, like Parth said, man, appreciate you guys, for all the work y'all put in. Y'all joined in the last couple of months, and the results on our socials, they've gone up exponentially. So appreciate you guys for you guys' hard work.
Oh, well, my brother's downstairs, so shout out to you as well, Nima. You're a good brother, man. I'll give you that sometimes, except when you argue with me. I don't like that, but what can you do?
Not
all right.
Sideways Eagles hat. We got to get this guy the boot.
Is that Ti? Oh my God, how's that on his head? How's it staying there? I don't know. But anyways, we appreciate everyone, man. Thank you all to the listeners as well. Seriously, 100 episodes. It's pretty awesome to be here and to be able to just do this.
Crazy comment.
With what? What happened this time? It's also one of my boys. I appreciate you. Thank you, generic name. Good guy.
Shout out my little brother in the chat.
Devin, let's go, dude. Another W's in the chat, dude.
W's in the
Devin,
chat.
You're an Eagles fan now. Don't forget. We didn't forget that bet. We didn't forget. So welcome to the light side. Also, what other podcast do you get? Tyler went back and looked at all the old episodes for me. What other podcast do you get Star Wars and Batman references? I mean, I forgot about the whole Batman thing too. So you want pop culture media, you want comic books, you want wrestling nonsense that I don't understand. You want football?
Yes, because the Eagles finished the story.
They did
finish the story.
And that stands in comic books and in wrestling. That's a truth right there. The storybook was written. So anyways, thank you all, and go Birds.
Wait, before we wrap up, I just want to announce it again. If you're watching on YouTube, if you didn't see earlier, we got more people in here than they were in the beginning. Philly Blitz, the price has gone up. We have signed a distribution deal with 14th and Market Media Network. What that means for us is the YouTube versions of the podcast, the streams, everything like that will be found on 14th and Market Media Network's YouTube channel from now on. We'll still, produce content on here, but it's going to be content that's independent from the podcast. So if you watch on YouTube, join us over there on 14th and Market Media Network.
You'll see more. You'll see all the great content on us on 14th and Market. If you don't want to sit back and watch the entire podcast because we talk too much, understandable. You will have all the reels in the world and all the clips from the best parts of the podcast. All that, everything you'll want to find about your Eagles content here, and not just Eagles, but everything content, man. We're excited to get to work with some of the guys that we have over there. Of course, we already know friend of the pod, Cliff, will be one of our partners. But just like Big Cafe said, man, the price has gone up. We're excited at what the future brings and what the future could be in terms of this Philly Blitz 14th and Market partnership. And we have a lot of really good stuff in store for you guys in the future, man. Not just in terms of content, but possible giveaways. Just a lot of fun stuff that we could potentially do with you guys, man. So just please stay along for this ride.
And again, 14th and Market. Where's that location, Parth?
It's not an intersection.
It's where the block
meets the border. It's City Hall. It's City Hall. So, but
it's gonna do it for this episode.
And we'll tweet out the link. So look out for the link for the 14th and Market. We'll get that to you.
Yes. But that's gonna do it for this episode. We're gonna release this as a pod, audio pod, tomorrow. So if you're listening after the stream on whichever podcast streaming platform you're listening on, be sure to leave us a like and a review. Rate us 5 stars. Again, we'll tweet out the links to everything with 14th and Market. But appreciate you for joining the 100th episode. We've come a long way. So thank you to everybody who watched the stream.
I'll count us down. We gotta do it at the same time, dude. It was right. It was weak. It was one person. It was right. I only did it too. All right, ready? Should I count down from 10? No, all right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Go Birds, baby. You guys.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.